Greetings, cozy knights. Lower your swords and rest by the fire. Tonight, we journey through the hidden secrets of Cyrodiil's most mysterious Easter eggs. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're listening from tonight and what games you want me to cover next. And subscribe if this helps you sleep. Nath Dyer's undelivered letter. In the lake west of Fort Nickel lies a corpse clutching a primrose and an undelivered love letter. Nath Dyer never confessed his feelings to the woman he admired, and now he floats eternally in these waters, his courage forever unspoken. The construction set reveals this NPC's internal names: Dead Lover Fort Nickel and Nathan McDyer, honouring Nathan McDyer, a Bethesda quality assurance team member. This small tribute transforms a random corpse into a memorial, acknowledging the countless hours testers spend making games function properly. The letter's contents reveal nervous affection and planned words never delivered. It's a tragic environmental story requiring no quest, just observation and willingness to explore unmarked locations. Players who find Nath rarely forget him, this quiet tribute to unrequited love, and the team members who catch bugs before players encounter them. Gran Struther's skeletal remains. Fort Cinia contains a dead skeleton named Gran Struther, another developer tribute hidden in plain sight. Grant Struthers served on Oblivion's world art team, designing the dungeons and forts players explore throughout Cyrodiil. His skeletal namesake guards no treasure, triggers no quest, exists simply as acknowledgement. This Easter egg shows Bethesda's tradition of honouring team members through environmental storytelling, turning random encounters into personal memorials. Most players walk past without noticing the specific name, but those who investigate discover these small touches that humanize game development. Behind every fort and dungeon lies an artist's vision, and sometimes that artist gets a skeleton with their name, eternally resting in the spaces they created. It's darkly humorous and touching simultaneously, a reminder that every inch of Cyrodiil was crafted by real people whose names deserve recognition beyond credit rolls. The Billies reference. NPCs throughout Cyrodiil mention Landrach, calling them Billies for no apparent reason. This seemingly colloquial nickname came directly from Bethesda's development team, where someone nicknamed these creatures Billy during creation. The name stuck internally, and developers included it in NPC dialogue as an inside joke that became lore. Players hear guards warn about Billies without understanding the reference's origin, assuming it's just regional slang. In reality, it's developers' workplace humor seeping into the game world, transforming an internal nickname into Cyrodiilian culture. This type of organic Easter egg feels natural because it mimics how real nicknames develop. Someone calls something a funny name. Others adopt it. Eventually, everyone forgets the origin. The Drurf are terrifying creatures regardless of nickname, making the casual Billy reference even funnier, like calling a dragon Steve. Imperial City restaurant references. Several Imperial City shops share names with real Maryland restaurants near Bethesda Softworks headquarters. The main ingredient and three brothers directly reference local establishments where developers likely ate during production. This grounded the fantasy city in developers' actual experiences, immortalizing their favorite dining spots in Cyrodiil's economy. The main ingredient exists as both an upscale restaurant in Bethesda, Maryland, and an alchemy shop in the Imperial City Market District. Three Brothers Italian Restaurant found its virtual counterpart in Cyrodiil's commerce. These Easter eggs only register for people familiar with Maryland's restaurant scene, or developers who ate there regularly. For everyone else, They're just shop names, perfectly hidden in plain sight. It shows how developers inject personal experiences into fantasy worlds, creating connections between their lives and the games they build. The Suicidal Troll. Between Cheydinhal and Leowyn, under a bridge near the mouth of the Panther, floats a troll face down in water. On its corpse rests a poorly scrawled note where the troll declares himself the worst troll ever, unloved and unable to scare travellers enough to collect tolls. The heartbreaking suicide note suggests deep depression stemming from professional failure. Nobody fears him enough to pay for crossing his bridge. This dark comedy Easter egg references the Three Billy Goats Gruff fairy tale while adding tragic depth. Morrowind's Blood Moon expansion included a similar reference, showing Bethesda's commitment to this particular joke across games. The note's terrible handwriting adds authenticity. This troll barely literate, struggling in a profession he's unsuited for, finally giving up. Players who find this scene experience emotions from laughter at the absurdity to genuine sadness for a fictional monster's despair. It's brilliant environmental storytelling requiring zero dialogue or quest markers. The Star Wars Lava Corpse. In the Kvatch Oblivion Gate. During breaking the siege of Kvatch, northwest of the gate entrance, a burnt corpse reaches desperately from a lava pool, one arm extended while severed legs trail behind. This obvious homage to Anakin Skywalker's fate in Revenge of the Sith couldn't be more blatant. The corpse's positioning mirrors that iconic scene where Obi-Wan defeats Anakin on Mustafar, leaving him burning without legs, reaching futilely for escape. Oblivion released just 1 year after Episode 3, riding that cultural moment. Bethesda even acknowledged this Easter egg officially, confirming the intentional reference. The meme phrase, "I have the high ground," became gaming culture shorthand, and Oblivion's developers joined the conversation through this unfortunate corpse. Players who recognize the reference experience that perfect Easter egg moment, recognizing something from another beloved franchise hidden in their current obsession, connecting two entertainment universes through shared cultural knowledge. Blue suede shoes reference. Divine Elegance clothing store in the Imperial City Market District displays blue suede shoes, a direct reference to Elvis Presley's 1956 hit song and album opener. This seems random until you remember developers needed to fill stores with inventory, and somebody decided to honor the king of rock and roll through footwear. The shoes serve no special purpose beyond existing as a clothing item, making them a pure Easter egg for players who notice specific item names. It's wonderfully anachronistic, Elvis existing in Cyrodiil's medieval fantasy setting through magical blue shoes. The reference works because it's subtle enough to miss entirely, while being obvious once spotted. Players can wear Elvis's iconic footwear while fighting Daedra, creating that perfect absurdist moment where real-world pop culture infiltrates high fantasy. It shows how developers entertain themselves during the tedious process of itemizing hundreds of objects, sneaking personal references into mundane inventory lists. Oford Gabing's Lord of the Rings. During the unfriendly competition quest, Thorinir's supplier Agarmir keeps a macabre notebook listing murdered victims and stolen goods. One entry describes Oford Gabing's, an obvious anagram of Frodo Baggins. His possessions mirror the Fellowship's iconic items perfectly. A travel cloak with silver and green leaf fastener references gifts from Lothlorien's elves. An enchanted short sword with inlaid writing represents Sting. A leather-bound travel journal corresponds to Bilbo's There and Back Again memoir. Most significantly, a gold ring with inscription Cursed represents the One Ring itself. This elaborate Lord of the Rings reference demonstrates Bethesda's affection for Tolkien's influence on fantasy gaming. The quest forces players to uncover a merchant's grave robbing operation, revealing how Ophir met his end and his possessions scattered to Cyrodiil's black market. It's simultaneously a murder mystery and literary tribute, honoring fantasy's foundational text through a side quest most players never complete. The Weatherwood Circlet inscription. After completing unfriendly competition, Thorinir rewards players with the Weatherwood Circlet, which bears an inscription matching the One Ring's famous words. The ring's description notes its cursed nature questioningly, mirroring the One Ring's corrupting power. This double Lord of the Rings reference connects to the Ophir Gabbing's entry, creating a quest entirely built around Tolkien homage. Bethesda's developers clearly loved Middle-earth enough to dedicate an entire questline's Easter eggs to those books and films. The circlet itself is enchanted, actually useful beyond its reference value, ensuring players who care about gear progression will wear Frodo's ring equivalent while adventuring through Cyrodiil. The inscription's exact wording matches Tolkien's created language, showing the developers' attention to detail. They didn't just reference Lord of the Rings vaguely. They committed fully, translating specific iconic elements into Oblivion's item database, creating a treasure hunt for literary fans within a criminal investigation quest. The Dune reference in Azura's quest. The worn, faded note found during Azura's Daedric quest bears striking resemblances to Frank Herbert's Dune universe. Written by Gola Gromuzgol, the name Gola refers to Dune's beings brought back from death. Just like the afflicted brethren are resurrected servants. The note's language, particularly "we praise her with the full fountain of our devotion," echoes Fremen religious terminology from Herbert's books. This demonstrates the breadth of Bethesda's literary influences beyond Tolkien. Dune's complex mythology about religion, resurrection, and desert cultures influenced countless science fiction and fantasy works. By including these specific terminology references, developers honored Herbert's contribution to speculative fiction. Players familiar with Dune recognize the connection immediately, while others simply read a strange cult's ravings. This selective Easter egg rewards well-read players with recognition moments, creating communities of fans who discuss these literary connections long after finishing the game. The Mystara campaign reference. Beggars occasionally end conversations with blessings of Mystara upon ye, referencing Dungeons & Dragons' Mystara campaign guide. Todd Howard cited D&D as massive inspiration during his formative years, and this blessing acknowledges that debt. Mystara never appears in Elder Scrolls lore officially, making this a pure metagame reference. Its developers thanking the tabletop RPG that inspired their careers, sneaking that gratitude into beggar dialogue where most players won't notice its significance. Those familiar with D&D's campaign settings recognize Mystara immediately, understanding Oblivion's lineage traces directly back to basement campaigns and dice rolls. This type of subtle homage enriches games for knowledgeable players without confusing others. The Beggar's Blessing sounds appropriately religious and fantasy appropriate, even without knowing the reference. Perfect camouflage for an Easter egg about the game's spiritual predecessor. The arena poster reference. Promotional posters for the Imperial City Arena Mirror. The Elder Scrolls, Arena's original box art, showing 4 adventurers representing the Mage, Knight, Archer, and Battle Mage classes. This self-referential Easter egg celebrates the franchise's origins, Arena being the first Elder Scrolls game from 1994. The poster depicts the same iconic imagery that introduced players to Tamriel decades earlier, including this in the arena location, makes perfect thematic sense. A fighting pit decorated with posters that happen to reference the series' beginning. New players see generic fantasy art. Veteran fans recognize the callback to where everything started. These class icons represent Oblivion's ancestors, the archetypes that defined early Elder Scrolls character building. Bethesda frequently references its history, maintaining continuity with longtime fans while welcoming newcomers. The arena poster exists as both decoration and tribute, functional game art that doubles as nostalgia for those who remember when Arena revolutionized open-world RPGs. Gaiden Shinji references. The Imperial City Arena contains multiple references to Gaiden Shinji, the first character ever mentioned in the Elder Scrolls series during Arena's introduction. This legendary figure appears in Arena's opening text, but remained undetailed until later games expanded his legend. Oblivion's Arena celebrates Cyrodiil's greatest fighters, naturally including tributes to Gaiden Shinji, the franchise's original warrior. His name appears in Arena dialogue, decorations, and lore books, cementing his importance to Tamriel's fighting traditions. This deep-cut reference rewards series veterans who remember Arena's introduction, recognizing a name from decades prior. New players simply learn about a legendary fighter through environmental storytelling. The layers work perfectly. Gaiden Shinji is simultaneously lore-accurate historical figure and meta-reference to the franchise's literal beginning. Bethesda excels at this type of nested Easter egg, creating content that functions multiple ways depending on player knowledge. The Warp in the West book, the in-game book. The Warp in the West directly references Daggerfall's final quest and multiple possible endings. Daggerfall's conclusion famously featured 6 different potential outcomes depending on player choices. A quantum event called the Warp in the West, where all endings occurred simultaneously through time manipulation. This book canonizes those events, explaining how contradictory endings could all be true. It's brilliant retconning that respects player agency while moving the timeline forward. Oblivion players who never touched Daggerfall read about historical events. Daggerfall veterans recognize developers acknowledging their experience while explaining away the impossible multiplicity of endings. The book demonstrates Bethesda's commitment to franchise continuity, despite technical limitations, making some historical events difficult to canonize. Rather than declare one ending official, they made all endings official through temporal manipulation, a very Elder Scrolls solution to a very Elder Scrolls problem. The Lusty Argonian Maid returns. NPCs discuss a new play called The Lusty Argonian Maid, which debuted in Morrowind as a rough draft by eccentric Hlalu noble Crassius Curio. The in-game book contains scandalous dialogue between an Argonian maid and her employer, full of double entendres about cleaning and polishing. This running joke matured from rough draft to performed play between games, suggesting Crassius successfully pitched his questionable script to theatrical troops. The book appears throughout Cyrodiil, its contents simultaneously hilarious and inappropriate, demonstrating Bethesda's willingness to include adult humor in fantasy settings. Players who read every book discover this comedic treasure, often sharing excerpts with friends. The Lusty Argonian Maid became so popular it appeared in Skyrim, establishing itself as Tamriel's most famous theatrical work. Its longevity across 3 games proves developers can create memorable content without combat or quests, just good comedy writing disguised as lore. St. Jaeb the Cliff Racer Slayer. NPCs occasionally mention St. Jaeb, who drove cliff racers from Vardenfell. This references the fellow prisoner aboard the ship in Morrowind's introduction, briefly encountered before the game begins. He's never seen again in Morrowind, making his sainthood absurdly disproportionate to screen time. The joke lies in Bethesda acknowledging that cliff racers, flying enemies constantly attacking in Morrowind, annoyed players intensely. By canonizing their removal through St. Jaeb's Crusade, developers admitted the design problem while creating lore explaining why Skyrim and later games lack these creatures. Morrowind players appreciate this winking acknowledgement that yes, cliff racers were obnoxious, and yes, someone should have eliminated them sooner. St. Jaeb represents developers' willingness to poke fun at their own choices, transforming a minor NPC into a legendary figure through retroactive hagiography built entirely on eliminating an enemy everyone hated. Tahil's continued legacy. After completing Sheogorath's prank in Border Watch, the Black Horse Courier publishes a special issue titled Reign of Burning Dogs. The local weather expert's explanation mentions the occasional wayward mage crashing to the earth, directly referencing Tahil from Morrowind. In that game, players encounter a mage falling from the sky, screaming, having cast incredibly powerful levitation magic with insufficient understanding of landing mechanics. His corpse contains scrolls of Icarian flight, humorously named after the mythological figure who flew too close to the sun. Oblivion's reference suggests this was an isolated incident, but recurring hazard in Tamriel. Mages regularly miscalculating experimental magic's terminal velocity implications. The callback entertains Morrowind veterans while establishing lore continuity. These wayward mages become Tamriel's version of airplane crashes, rare catastrophic failures of magical transportation systems. Bethesda loves explaining away game absurdities through lore, and reigning mages fits perfectly. Umbra returns. In Morrowind, players could find Umbra, a two-handed claymore held by a male orc named Umbra. In Oblivion, Umbra is a one-handed longsword held by a female, Bosma, also named Umbra, with identical soul trap enchantments. This suggests the blade itself is cursed, possessing wielders and forcing them to adopt its name regardless of original identity. The sword jumps between games and bodies, maintaining its power while changing hands. This continuity demonstrates Bethesda tracking legendary items across centuries, showing how artifacts pass through history while their bearers fade into obscurity. The female Bosma-wielding Umbra has no memory of life before claiming the blade, perfectly embodying the curse. Players who obtained Umbra in Morrowind experienced nostalgia, finding it again, now in different hands. The transformation from two-handed to one-handed represents mechanical changes between games while maintaining lore identity, a clever bridge between gameplay evolution and story consistency. The Shield of the Red Mountain. This randomly found mithril shield clearly references Vardenfell's most recognizable physical feature, the volcanic red mountain dominating Morrowind's landscape. The Fire Shield enchantment reinforces the connection to that active volcano. It's a simple piece of equipment that carries profound significance for Morrowind players, reminding them of that province's geography while exploring Cyrodiil. The shield existing in Cyrodiil suggests trade routes carried Dunmer-crafted equipment throughout Tamriel. Or perhaps a Morrowind visitor lost it during travels. These environmental storytelling elements enrich the world, proving provinces interact beyond player observation. The shield's enchantment practically screams its origin, fire protection naturally developing in a culture living beside an active volcano. Finding it in a random loot drop feels like discovering a piece of Morrowind in Cyrodiil, a tangible connection to the previous game's setting maintained through itemization. Arvina Thelas's Reversed Quest. Arvina Thelas can be found in Anvil, possibly related to Morrowind's Drarain. Thelas, the first Anvil Fighters Guild mission, involves protecting rats in her home, contrarily to Morrowind's mission requiring their extermination. This reversal creates humour for series veterans, acknowledging that rat killing is traditionally beginner's work in RPGs. By making players defend rats instead, Bethesda subverts expectations while creating a more interesting moral situation. Arvina genuinely loves her pet rats, hiring guild fighters to save them from threats. The quest becomes absurd as hardened warriors carefully protect rodents from garden predators. This role reversal demonstrates how the same scenario can be recontextualized between games. The Thelas family apparently has complicated relationships with rats across generations, maintaining this peculiar trait across centuries and provinces. It's simultaneously an Easter egg for Morrowind players and commentary on RPG tropes about always killing rats. Falanu Hlalu's Alchemy Shops. Falanu Hlalu runs all things alchemical in Skingrad, representing Morrowind's great house Hlalu through her surname. Her first shop exists as ruins near Memorial Cave, on Lake Rumore's shores, southeast of the Imperial City, abandoned under mysterious circumstances. The destroyed storefront contains valuable potions and ingredients, suggesting sudden departure or catastrophic event. Players exploring this unmarked location discover Falanu's backstory through environmental design rather than dialogue. What drove her from successful business to Skingrad's relocation? The game never explicitly states, allowing players to imagine scenarios from Oblivion Invasion to business rivalry gone violent. This environmental storytelling rewards exploration while connecting to Morrowind's political factions. House Hlalu members appearing in Cyrodiil suggests Dunmer migration patterns, great houses extending influence beyond Morrowind's borders through merchant operations and political connections. Mike's Fable. Insult. Among Mike's dialogue, he comments on Fable, saying, "Some say Fable is the greatest game ever made." Mike says they are foolish. This direct insult of a competitor's game shows Bethesda's confidence and humour. Fable released close to Oblivion, both competing for RPG market dominance. Mike became the vehicle for developers to poke fun at other games' claims. Fable's marketing famously promised features it couldn't deliver, much like Mike's lies about game mechanics. This meta-commentary through in-game character demonstrates sophisticated humour, developers joining player conversations about gaming industry hype versus reality. The insult aged interestingly as both franchises evolved, Fable's declining trajectory contrasting with Elder Scrolls' continued success. Mike calling Fable's fans foolish became increasingly prescient as Oblivion's legacy grew. It's rare seeing developers so directly mock competitors, but Mike's character allows this audacity. The Bard's Tale reference? Imperial. Male Fighters Guild members sometimes say, "I have a warm place to sleep and 3 squares a day. It ain't the Bard's Tale, but it's good enough for me." This references the 1985 role-playing game, the Bard's Tale franchise, acknowledging influential RPGs that preceded Elder Scrolls. The comment suggests the Bard's Tale represented better living conditions or more exciting adventures, though the speaker's contentment with current circumstances shows pragmatism. It's a deep-cut reference to gaming's past, recognizing the genre's history and influences. the Bard's Tale games pioneered many mechanics that later RPGs adopted, including party-based combat and dungeon crawling. By having guards casually mention this legendary game series, Bethesda acknowledges standing on shoulders of gaming giants. The reference works multiple ways, as both nostalgic callback and in-universe suggestion that the Bard's Tale exists as Tamriel's legendary adventure story. Jump on my sword. During combat, NPCs occasionally shout "jump on my sword while you can." This darkly humorous line makes combat absurdly funny, enemies politely inviting you to impale yourself on their weapons. The awkward phrasing suggests either poor translation of ancient battle cries or dark humor about suicide by combat. It became a memorable meme within Oblivion's community, representing the game's occasionally bizarre voice direction. The delivery varies wildly depending on NPC voice type, from menacing to accidentally comedic. Bethesda's combat barks aimed for intimidation, but occasionally produced unintended hilarity. This particular phrase embodies that tonal disconnect. In context, it's an enemy threatening murder. Out of context, it's the strangest invitation ever extended. Players often pause mid-combat to laugh at this line, breaking immersion while providing endless entertainment. The quote entered gaming culture as shorthand for Oblivion's unique charm, where serious fantasy bumps against absurd dialogue. The Black Hand. Historical reference? The Dark Brotherhood's ruling council, called the Black Hand, shares names with the Serbian military organization that assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand, triggering World War I. Both are secretive assassination groups with rigid hierarchies and deadly efficiency. This historical reference adds gravitas to the Dark Brotherhood's operations, suggesting real-world parallels to their structure. The Serbian Black Hand operated as nationalists willing to murder for political goals, eerily similar to the Dark Brotherhood's contracts determining regional power. Bethesda frequently draws from history when building faction lore, and this connection demonstrates sophisticated understanding of secret society structures throughout history. The name instantly evokes shadowy organizations operating beyond legal authority. While most players never connect the Dark Brotherhood to World War I's origins, those aware of history appreciate the deliberate parallel between Tamriel's assassins and Earth's most consequential assassination in modern history. Skingrad Castle's Dracula architecture. Skingrad Castle's exterior is a direct copy of Bran Castle in Romania, famously known as Dracula's Castle. This creates wonderfully appropriate atmosphere for Skingrad's vampire-infested storyline. Count Hasseldor rules as a vampire attempting to protect citizens from his curse, and he governs from architecture associated with fiction's most famous vampire. The castle's Gothic towers, steep roofs, and dramatic positioning mirror Bran Castle precisely. Players familiar with vampire lore recognize the reference immediately, understanding Skingrad's vampire problems before NPCs mention them. The architecture tells story before dialogue does, environmental design communicating narrative through recognizable landmarks. Bethesda's level designers clearly researched Bran Castle thoroughly, recreating its distinctive profile in Oblivion's engine. This demonstrates how real-world locations influence fantasy game design, developers pulling from existing castles rather than inventing from scratch. The result feels authentic because it is authentic, copied from reality and planted in fantasy. Fort Caractacus's historical name. Fort Caractacus references the 1st century British chieftain Caractacus, sometimes spelled Caractacus, who resisted Roman invasion. This historical figure led resistance against Roman legions for nearly a decade before eventual capture. Naming a fort after him suggests Cyrodiil's empire, modelled on Rome, honours even conquered enemies who fought bravely. It demonstrates the empire's practice of absorbing defeated cultures rather than erasing them. Caraticus became legendary in Roman history for his eloquent speech requesting mercy before Emperor Claudius, earning freedom despite leading extended resistance. The fort's name implies similar dynamics in Tamriel's imperial expansion, with the empire memorializing worthy opponents. These classical history references enrich the game's world building, showing Bethesda's attention to historical parallels between Tamriel's empire and Rome. Players educated in classical history appreciate these connections, recognizing how carefully developers researched their empire-building narrative. Lucien Lachance and Forever Knight. Lucien Lachance, the Dark Brotherhood recruiter, is a caricature of Lucien Lacroix from Canadian television's Forever Knight. That series chronicled Nick Knight, an 800-year-old vampire, with Lacroix as the vampire who turned him. Both Luciens recruit protagonists into dark families they'll never escape. Both serve as mentors teaching unlife's rules. The name similarity is too exact to be coincidental. Bethesda's writers likely enjoyed Forever Knight's vampire mythology, incorporating its mentor character into the Dark Brotherhood recruitment. The parallel deepens considering both characters operate in shadows, teaching forbidden knowledge to initiates who've crossed moral lines. Lucien Lachance's theatrical personality, dark wisdom, and protective mentorship mirror Lacroix's characterization almost precisely. This TV reference shows how diverse media influences game writing. Forever Knight wasn't mainstream, making this a niche reference for specific audiences, exactly the type of Easter egg Bethesda loves planting for knowledgeable fans. Nothing you can possess. Quest title: Umbacano's second quest, Nothing You Can Possess, references Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indiana Jones's nemesis Dr. Belloc says, "There is nothing you can possess which I cannot take away," when stealing the idol Jones risked his life obtaining. The quest involves stealing ancient Iliad artifacts through dungeon diving, mirroring Indiana Jones's archaeological adventures. Umbacano serves as quest giver, obsessed with ancient artifacts, much like Marcus Brody or other benefactors funding archaeological expeditions. The reference acknowledges Indiana Jones as inspiration for dungeon-crawling adventure gaming. Raiders popularized ancient ruins filled with traps and treasures, directly inspiring countless video games, including Elder Scrolls dungeon design. By naming a quest after Belloc's iconic line, developers acknowledge their debt to Spielberg's adventure films. Players become Cyrodiil's own Indiana Jones, delving into dangerous Iliad ruins seeking priceless artifacts for obsessive collectors. The reference completes when Umbacano's true intentions mirror Belloc's. Both collectors care nothing for historical preservation, only possessing power. The Todd Test Developer Room. Using console command Sikok Todd Test transports players to a secret developer testing area containing every item, armor, and weapon in Oblivion. This room wasn't meant for players, existing solely for developers to quickly access items during testing. Finding it requires external knowledge or console command experimentation. Inside, an NPC named Alban Korinis speaks with Todd Howard's voice instead of standard NPC voice actors, making him immediately distinctive. Todd Howard left this Easter egg for data miners and curious players who explore beyond boundaries. The Todd Test name directly references Bethesda's game director, acknowledging who built this space. The room exists in every copy of Oblivion, hidden behind console commands, waiting for players willing to break immersion for completionist satisfaction. It's simultaneously useful cheat enabler and tribute to the team, particularly their director. Modern players often visit Todd Test to experiment with builds or obtain specific items, transforming developer utility into player resource. Tandilwi's voice, acting blooper. During an exchange with the guard Tandilwi, an audio blooper remains in the final game, where the voice actor says, "Wait a minute, let me do that again," before repeating the line. This should have been edited out, but somehow survived to release. It's perhaps Oblivion's most famous accidental Easter egg, instantly breaking the fourth wall when encountered. Tandilwi acknowledges she's being voice acted. That takes exist and sometimes need repeating, destroying immersion in the most hilarious way possible. The blooper became beloved precisely because it's unintentional, a window into the recording booth accidentally left in the finished product. Bethesda never patched it, eventually embracing the mistake as part of Oblivion's charm. Players specifically seek out Tandilwi to hear this famous glitch. The remastered version preserved it, cementing its status as intentional Easter egg through retroactive acceptance. It perfectly represents Oblivion's weird energy, where high fantasy intersects with janky reality in entertaining ways. The spectral mud crab. In Paradise Realm during Mankar Cameron's quest, a remote island unreachable by standard means contains the ghost of a mud crab. It attacks like regular mud crabs, but is translucent and otherworldly. Some players theorize this could be the soul of Morrowind's famous mud crab merchant, who sold goods from an island and spoke complete sentences unlike normal mud crabs. While the developers never confirmed this connection, the theory persists because that merchant's unique nature suggested magical origin, and dying might have trapped him in Daedric Plains. The spectral mud crab serves as a clear callback to Morrowind, while existing in Oblivion's endgame area, rewarding thorough explorers with weird discoveries. Reaching the island requires swimming significant distances, deterring casual discovery. Finding a ghost crab in Mehrunes Dagon's Twisted Paradise feels appropriately surreal, fitting Paradise's nightmarish landscapes. The developers placed this Easter egg in a difficult-to-reach late-game location, ensuring only dedicated players experience it. Whether it's truly the merchant's spirit or simply an environmental oddity, the ambiguity enhances the mystery. Fine, Gleam Glass Helmet. Near Anvil, at the bottom of a western lake, lies Fin Gleam, a powerful glass helmet, obtainable early game. It grants underwater breathing, night vision, and detect life within 20 feet, making it extraordinarily useful for new characters. Finding it requires swimming underwater without quest markers, rewarding exploration with equipment that normally appears much later. The helmet's location near Anvil means players can obtain it almost immediately after leaving prison, dramatically improving early game experience. Its name suggests nautical purpose, perfect for underwater discovery. Bethesda loves placing powerful items in unexpected locations, encouraging players to explore beyond quest objectives. Fin Gleam represents the rewards awaiting curious adventurers willing to investigate unmarked areas. The helmet's enchantments trivialize certain challenges, particularly vampire hunting and dungeon exploration, making it surprisingly valuable despite being findable at level 1. Players who discover it feel clever, knowing they've found equipment the game didn't explicitly direct them toward. Fight Club references. Throughout Cyrodiil and Shivering Isles, secret underground fight clubs operate in various locations, referencing the film Fight Club. Most obviously, notes found on participants contain variations of the famous rules, particularly the first two rules, don't talk about Fight Club. The liturgy of the duelist note found in the Crucible says speak not of the duelists, mirroring that original phrasing. At night on Crucible's rooftops in Shivering Isles, players discover NPCs engaged in organized bare-knuckle combat, clear homage to underground fighting. These secret battles occur without guards interfering, suggesting organized crime or sanctioned violence beyond law enforcement. The fights have no associated quests, existing purely as environmental storytelling and Easter eggs. Players who investigate strange noises or explore rooftops discover these violent gatherings, often with loot on defeated participants' corpses. The multiple Fight Club references throughout both main game and expansion show developers' affection for that film's themes about masculinity, violence, and secret societies. The giant mud crab. Near certain shorelines, players can encounter a giant mud crab, significantly larger than normal specimens. This oversized crustacean attacks just like regular mud crabs, but with amplified threat. The giant mud crab exists as environmental oddity without quest association, purely a weird discovery for explorers. It references tabletop RPG's tendency to create giant versions of normal creatures, acknowledging that tradition through absurdist inclusion. Fighting an enormous mud crab is simultaneously ridiculous and dangerous, typical Oblivion tonal dissonance. The creature appears random enough that many players never encounter it, making discovery feel special. Bethesda's creature team clearly enjoyed creating unexpected variations of standard enemies. The giant mud crab joins other oversized creatures like the giant slaughterfish and giant rat as environmental surprises that make Cyrodiil feel wilder and less predictable than purely quest-based areas. The giant Nirnroot. Hidden in certain locations, players can discover a giant Nirnroot, massively oversized compared to the plant's normal size. Nirnroot already stands out through its metallic chime sound effect, and the giant version amplifies that distinctiveness. This oversized plant became famous enough to inspire similar Easter eggs in later games, including Skyrim's Blackreach giant Nirnroot Island. The original Oblivion giant Nirnroot exists as pure environmental oddity, serving no quest purpose beyond amusing players who stumble across it. Collecting it provides the same alchemical ingredient as regular Nirnroot, despite its dramatic size difference. This type of Easter egg demonstrates Bethesda's commitment to rewarding exploration with weird discoveries. The giant Nirnroot makes players wonder what caused this mutation, inviting speculation about magical experimentation or natural variance. No in-game explanation exists, leaving the mystery unsolved and intriguing. It's precisely the type of environmental storytelling that makes exploration enjoyable beyond quest completion. Drunken goblins. In certain dungeons, players discover goblins who have apparently discovered alcohol and become intoxicated. These drunk goblins behave differently from sober counterparts, stumbling around or sleeping off hangovers near emptied wine bottles. This humorous environmental detail humanizes creatures usually portrayed as simple monsters. The goblins' alcoholism suggests they're more intelligent than given credit for, capable of understanding fermentation and desiring intoxication. It raises questions about goblin society and culture, implying they have recreational activities beyond fighting and survival. Finding drunk goblins creates comedy during otherwise serious dungeon crawling. Players might feel bad killing intoxicated enemies or find the scenario hilarious. The detail demonstrates Bethesda's creature design philosophy, treating even monsters as entities with behaviors beyond aggression. These goblins partied, got drunk, and now suffer consequences, relatable even though they're monsters living in ruins. The Udafricta Matron. At Dive Rock, players can encounter the Udafricta Matron, a reference to Blood Moon's Udafricta. A journal found at the site describes a Solstheim chieftain's hunt to kill the horror of Dive Rock, establishing this creature's reputation. The Udafricta in Morrowind's Blood Moon expansion was a powerful troll-like creature with its own lore. Its matron, appearing in Cyrodiil, suggests the species ranges beyond Solstheim, or that related creatures inhabit various regions. The journal transforms random monster encounter into tragic story, a chieftain's quest ending in failure judging by the remains. This environmental storytelling rewards players who read, found notes rather than just looting corpses. The Udafricta Matron is significantly more dangerous than standard enemies, making the fight memorable. By connecting this creature to Blood Moon's lore, Bethesda maintains continuity across expansions and games, suggesting Tamriel exists as a cohesive world where events in one province relate to others. Peryite's afflicted cultists. Wandering Cyrodiil, players encounter afflicted, people mutated by Peryite's plague with distorted faces and hostile behavior. These tragic figures serve Peryite, Daedric Prince of Pestilence, having sought his blessing and received curse instead. Their disease progression represents Peryite's gift of disease, transforming worshippers into walking plagues. The afflicted attack on sight, spreading their condition through combat. Finding their camps reveals letters and journals describing transformation from lucid humans into barely sentient carriers. These documents provide tragic context, showing they were pilgrims who made one mistake worshipping the wrong Daedric prince and paid with humanity. The afflicted embody body horror in Oblivion, visual representation of disease's corrupting power. Killing them becomes mercy rather than murder. Their existence warns against Daedric worship's dangers, demonstrating even princes associated with seemingly minor domains like disease can destroy lives absolutely. Sheep charming. Players can lead sheep around by dropping food items like grapes, which the sheep follow, picking up each piece. This creates amusing situations where adventurers lead entire flocks across Cyrodiil through strategic food placement. The mechanic serves no quest purpose, existing as emergent gameplay allowing creative players to manipulate NPC animals. Some players discovered they could lead sheep into dangerous areas or trap them in enclosures through patient food trail laying. This transforms simple animal AI into entertainment, encouraging experimentation with game systems. The sheep's food obsession allows players to create bizarre scenarios, herding livestock through cities or leading them to specific NPCs. It's the type of emergent behavior that makes open-world games memorable, unintended interactions between systems creating unique moments. Bethesda's animal AI probably wasn't designed for sheep herding gameplay, but players transformed programming quirks into features through creative manipulation. Heavenstones and runestones. Throughout Cyrodiil, ancient Daedric standing stones provide powerful blessings when activated. Two types exist: blue stones offering immediate temporary powers like bound weapons, and red stones activating only at night, granting permanent abilities usable once daily. These stones reference fantasy's long tradition of ancient magical monuments, granting power to those brave enough to seek them. The red stones, night only, activation creates atmospheric encounters, players finding mysterious glowing stones under starlight that refuse activation during day. Collecting all Heavenstone powers creates mini-quest without journal entries, rewarding systematic exploration. The stone's existence suggests ancient civilizations left magical infrastructure throughout Cyrodiil, remnants of religious or magical practices. Their names reference historical periods and figures like Hestra, Raymond, and Sidri Ashak, connecting to Elder Scrolls' deep lore. Players who activate all stones gain significant power increases, making exploration mechanically rewarding beyond experience and loot. The giant slaughterfish. In certain lakes and rivers, a giant slaughterfish lurks, significantly larger and deadlier than normal specimens. This oversized predator attacks boats and swimmers with increased ferocity, creating genuine underwater danger. Finding it requires swimming in specific locations, often discovered accidentally when players venture into deeper waters. The giant slaughterfish joins other oversized creatures as environmental surprise, making Cyrodiil's waters feel dangerous beyond typical video game safety. Water in many RPGs is safe or contains minor threats. Oblivion's giant slaughterfish demands respect for aquatic environments. Its inclusion shows Bethesda's commitment to making every environment potentially dangerous. Players who love underwater exploration discover this terror lurking beneath peaceful surfaces. The creature's size is immediately shocking when first encountered, creating memorable moments where players flee to shore, re-evaluating assumptions about water travel safety in Cyrodiil. The Haunted House Quest. Players can purchase a haunted house in Anvil cheaply due to its ghostly inhabitants. The house's basement contains trapped spirits and dark history revealed through investigation. This unmarked quest requires players to discover the haunting's source, cleanse the property, then safely inhabit it. The house represents Oblivion's best property investment if players complete the exorcism, offering prime location at fraction of normal cost due to supernatural problems. The quest combines home ownership with ghost hunting, creating unique gameplay where property management becomes paranormal investigation. Environmental clues reveal previous owners' fate and lingering spirits' identities. Successfully cleansing the house transforms it from liability to asset. Perfect example of risk-reward exploration. The haunting is legitimately creepy, with spirits attacking unexpectedly and unsettling atmosphere pervading the property. Players who avoid reading spoilers experience genuine surprise discovering their new home wants them dead. The Vampire Cure Quest. Contracting vampirism triggers an extended unmarked quest to find cure, involving multiple NPCs, rare ingredients, and Count Hasildur of Skingrad. This lengthy questline rewards players who role-play characters, unwilling to embrace vampirism. The cure's difficulty reflects vampirism's seriousness. It's not easily reversed like minor diseases. Players must research through books, speak with witches, gather obscure ingredients across Cyrodiil, then perform ritual removing the curse. The quest's complexity demonstrates Bethesda's commitment to supporting player choice, providing escape for players regretting vampirism. Count Hasildur's involvement adds poignancy. He rules as vampire protecting citizens from his curse, desperately seeking cure himself. His wife remains trapped in vampiric coma, neither living nor dead. The cure quest becomes tragically important for Hasildur, though his inability to cure himself creates heartbreaking irony. Players who help him gain his gratitude while understanding vampirism's true cost. The paintbrush physics glitch. The Bruma Mages Guild contains a floating paintbrush suspended mid-air, defying gravity. This apparent physics glitch became beloved Easter egg, with Bethesda deliberately leaving it in subsequent updates. The floating brush represents Oblivion's charming jankiness, where physics calculations sometimes produce unintended but entertaining results. It suggests a wizard's magical accident or art project frozen in time. Players discovering it question whether it's intentional detail or programming error, perfectly embodying the line between bug and feature. The paintbrush's fame grew through player sharing, becoming an iconic symbol of Oblivion's quirks. It doesn't affect gameplay, existing purely as environmental oddity. The fact that it's a paintbrush, specifically a tool for creating, adds meta-humor. It's as if the game itself is unfinished painting, and this brush represents that creative process suspended mid-stroke. The remastered version preserved it, officially canonizing this glitch as intentional Easter egg. The Todd Test NPC Alban Korinis. In the Todd Test developer room, NPC Alban Korinis stands out by being voiced by Todd Howard himself instead of professional voice actors. His dialogue cycles through various mood options developers used for testing conversation systems. Hearing Todd Howard's actual voice in-game creates a surreal experience, like meeting the game's creator made manifest. The NPC exists solely for development testing, allowing programmers to verify dialogue systems worked across different emotional states. Players accessing Todd Test encounter this bizarre NPC spouting random lines in Howard's distinctive voice, creating uncanny valley effect. It's simultaneously Easter egg and development tool, preserved in final release for curious players who break boundaries. The fact that Bethesda's game director recorded test dialogue shows his hands-on involvement in all production aspects. Finding Alban Korinis feels like discovering the Wizard of Oz behind his curtain. A glimpse into game creation process, usually hidden from players. The "I could make that potion seller" reference. Using certain console commands reveals a line referencing the potion seller video, a viral internet video by Justin Kuritzkis, where a knight begs a potion seller for strongest potions. The potion seller refuses, claiming his potions are too strong. This became a beloved meme, and Bethesda included subtle reference accessible only through console commands. The video's absurdist humor about potion strength and the knight's desperation resonated with gaming communities. By referencing it, developers acknowledged their awareness of gaming culture beyond their own products. The reference exists in code, but rarely surfaces during normal play, making it deep cut for players who both know the meme and explore game files. It demonstrates how viral internet content influences even mainstream game development. Developers scroll the same memes players do, and occasionally those jokes infiltrate products they're creating, preserving internet culture in unexpected places. The Crucible Rooftop Treasure Hunt. In Shivering Isles' Crucible district, players can climb onto rooftops using strategically placed ramps, discovering hidden items and notes. One rooftop contains a stool with a note and key, starting unmarked treasure hunt through Crucible sewers. The note describes someone fearing for their safety, hiding valuables in sewage near Sickly Bernice's tap house. Following clues leads to a busted crate containing an urn unlockable with the found key, revealing 500 gold worth of loot. This entire sequence rewards players who explore vertical spaces beyond street level. The treasure hunt tells environmental story about Crucible's dangers and residents' desperate survival measures. Someone hid their wealth, and their absence suggests they never retrieved it, implying death or disappearance. Players who investigate thoroughly enjoy emergent narrative built entirely through environmental design, without quest markers or dialogue. New Sheoth Graveyard's dynamic epitaphs in Shivering Isles. The New Sheoth Graveyard, southwest of the capital, contains tombstones for every dead NPC, each with unique, often humorous epitaphs. This dynamic system generates custom memorial text based on each NPC's personality and circumstances of death. Initially, some tombstones exist with comedic inscriptions, but as players spend time in Shivering Isles and NPCs die through quests or player actions, new tombstones appear with custom text. This creates personal graveyard reflecting each playthrough's specific casualties. Some epitaphs are genuinely funny, others poignant. The system demonstrates impressive attention to detail, developers writing unique grave messages for dozens of potential deaths. Returning to the graveyard throughout the expansion reveals accumulating casualties, visual representation of the player's impact on Shivering Isles. It's simultaneously morbid and touching, honoring even minor NPCs with personalized memorials. The Museum of Oddities. Shivering Isles features the Museum of Oddities, where curator Una Armina seeks bizarre items throughout the realm. This entire questline revolves around collecting strange artifacts, from bone sculptures to bizarre relics. The museum's existence in Sheogorath's realm makes perfect sense. The Daedric Prince of Madness would naturally inspire collectors of oddities. Each item has backstory, often disturbing or bizarre, fitting the Isle's surreal atmosphere. The curator's descriptions reveal twisted histories behind seemingly innocent objects. Completing this collection provides rewards while enriching Shivering Isles' lore through environmental storytelling. The museum itself becomes increasingly bizarre as more items are donated, transforming from empty building to cabinet of curiosities. This side activity demonstrates Shivering Isles' commitment to strange, memorable content that exists purely for atmospheric reasons, rather than main quest necessity. The Punishment Point Execution. Near Knife Point, hollow in Shivering Isles, Punishment Point contains an altar with decaying bodies and a recent corpse in white outfit carrying a decree. The document explains he was executed for growing a beard, offending Sheogorath. This brutal punishment for trivial offense perfectly captures the Daedric Prince's arbitrary cruelty. The reference actually targets Oblivion developer Robert Wisniewski, who tried growing a beard during development. Colleagues apparently disliked the new look, immortalizing their disapproval through this execution scene. It's simultaneously in-universe demonstration of Sheogorath's madness and real-world office joke about grooming choices. The corpse's name in game files is Sheogorath's Punished, confirming the connection. This type of self-deprecating humor shows development teams' camaraderie, turning workplace teasing into lasting memorial within the game itself. Big Head the Fork Collector. Big Head is an Argonian in Shivering Isles obsessed with collecting forks, displaying them shrine-like in his house. This bizarre hobby perfectly fits the realm's madness theme. Players can retrieve the Fork of Horripilation for him, completing his collection. This fork originally appeared in Morrowind's Sheogorath quest, where players took it from Big Head and gave it to the Daedric Prince. Oblivion reverses this, allowing players to return the fork to its obsessed owner. Big Head's single-minded focus on utensils is absurd, yet somehow relatable, representing collectors' passion taken to extreme. His house becomes a gallery of ordinary forks treated as precious artifacts. The quest has no grand purpose beyond humoring a fork enthusiast, perfectly embodying Shivering Isles' commitment to strange small stories. Big Head occasionally dies randomly before players complete his quest, adding frustration to an already bizarre situation. Runs in Circles and Monty Python. In Shivering Isles, an Argonian named Runs in Circles demonstrates erratic behavior, literally running in circles while screaming "ni-ni-ni-ni." This obviously references Monty Python and the Holy Grail's knights who say "ni," who demand shrubberies and say "ni" repeatedly. Her behavior makes sense in Sheogorath's realm, where madness is normalized. When denied food or items she requests, Runs in Circles begins her circular sprinting and Python-inspired chanting. The reference works because it's absurd enough to fit Shivering Isles, while being recognizable to comedy fans. Monty Python deeply influenced fantasy comedy, and this homage acknowledges that debt. Runs in Circles is simultaneously mentally disturbed resident of Mad Realm and walking reference to British comedy. Her behavior becomes expected after encountering Shivering Isles' other bizarre residents. The name itself is perfectly descriptive. She runs in circles, exactly as advertised. Ushnar's fear of cats. In Crucible, Ushnar the orc displays unusual phobia. He's terrified of cats and by extension Khajiit. He asks players to make Bisha the Khajiit disappear, without specifying whether he means murder or relocation. This creates moral choice where players decide how to handle one person's irrational fear. Paying Bisha to leave town solves the problem peacefully, while killing him satisfies Ushnar's request more literally. An orc fearing a Khajiit is absurd given orcs' warrior culture reputation. Ushnar's phobia humanizes him, showing even tough races have irrational fears. His behavior in Shivering Isles fits the realm's nature. Madness manifesting as extreme, unreasonable phobia. The quest has no right answer, simply presenting situation where player chooses how to resolve interpersonal conflict driven by mental illness. It's dark comedy masquerading as moral choice. The Missing Pauldron Shop. The Missing Pauldron Shop in Shivering Isles' Bliss District references Morrowind's armor system, where pauldrons were separate equipment pieces from cuirass. Oblivion's simplified armor, combining pauldrons with chess pieces, effectively making pauldrons missing from the game. The shop's name is meta-joke about removed game feature, developers acknowledging they eliminated equipment slot between games. It's clever, self-aware humor, naming a fantasy shop after mechanical design change. Players who never played Morrowind see it as random shop name. Series veterans immediately recognize the reference and appreciate the knowing wink. The Missing Pauldron joins other Elder Scrolls shops named for missing features, tradition of embedding design commentary in business names. Gnarl Bark reference, Shivering Isles ingredient. Gnarl Bark references musical artist Gnarls Barkley, whose hit song Crazy fits the expansion's madness theme perfectly. This musical reference is wonderfully appropriate given the subject matter. Gnarls Barkley's Crazy became a cultural phenomenon, and developers couldn't resist including subtle homage. The ingredient comes from gnarl creatures, making the naming doubly clever. It references both the creature and the artist. Few players notice the connection, because it's disguised as logical ingredient naming. Those who catch the reference appreciate how seamlessly it integrates into game systems. The song's lyrics about questioning sanity perfectly align with Shivering Isles' exploration of madness. This type of reference demonstrates how developers weave popular culture into fantasy worlds without breaking immersion. The Standing Stones and 2001 reference. The book The Standing Stones in Shivering Isles makes several references to Arthur C. Clarke's 2001, A Space Odyssey, particularly the monolith. It describes stones that are waiting for their masters, cannot be burned, chipped, or scratched, mirroring the monolith's mysterious properties. This science fiction reference in fantasy setting creates interesting juxtaposition. Clark's monolith represented alien intelligence testing humanity. Shivering isles, standing stones serve similar mysterious purpose, ancient artifacts with properties beyond understanding. The reference demonstrates how science fiction and fantasy often explore similar themes through different aesthetics. Developers well read enough to incorporate Clark's work into Sheogorath's realm show impressive literary range. Most players never connect the stones to 2001, but those familiar with Clark's work recognize the clear inspiration. The Dark Chest of Wonders. In Shirathar Dungeon within Shivering Isles, a named chest called the Dark Chest of Wonders appears, obviously referencing the Darkness's song, I Believe in a Thing Called Love, with its lyric, touching you, touching me. The chest's dramatic naming elevates mundane container to legendary status. This musical reference creates humor through juxtaposition, a rock song referenced in medieval fantasy dungeon. The chest contains decent loot, but nothing justifying its grandiose name, creating anticlimax that enhances the joke. Developers naming random dungeon chests. After early 2000s rock songs demonstrates the playful energy throughout Shivering Isles development. The expansion consistently includes these small jokes and references, rewarding players who investigate every detail. The Dark Chest of Wonders sounds important, until you realize it's literally just a chest with a funny name. The Pygmy Bones. Throughout Shivering Isles, players find small bones belonging to ethnic pygmies, according to Museum of Oddities curator Una Armina. These bones can be collected and arranged into complete pygmy skeletons, bizarre activity that fits the realm's oddity. One complete pygmy skeleton appears cradled in Gromite statue's hands within Vythan Keep, suggesting these beings were significant historically. The pygmy bones transform from random collectibles to dark storytelling element. What happened to Shivering Isles' pygmy population? Were they exterminated, displaced, or transformed? The game never explains, leaving sinister mystery. Collecting body parts to assemble skeletons is macabre activity presented casually, fitting Sheogorath's realm where death and madness intertwine. Players who complete pygmy skeleton collections engage in digital grave robbing for no reward beyond completing sets. It's disturbing and compelling simultaneously. The Madness Ore equipment. Shivering Isles introduces Madness Ore, exclusive material for crafting armor and weapons. This ore comes from Madness Ore deposits throughout the realm, usable only by specialized smiths. The concept of madness-infused metal perfectly captures the expansion's theme. Equipment forged from Madness Ore has unique appearance, jagged and unsettling. Mechanically powerful, aesthetically disturbing. The ore's existence suggests madness can be physical substance, mined and forged like iron. This makes Sheogorath's realm feel truly alien, where abstract concepts manifest as tangible materials. Players who invest in madness equipment embrace the realm's nature, wearing armor forged from insanity itself. The distinctive appearance marks players as deeply connected to Shivering Isles, unable to remove its influence even after leaving. Sheogorath's throne room artifacts. During Shivering Isles' main quest, artifacts from completed quests accumulate around Sheogorath's throne room. This starts with the Gatekeeper's head replica after breaking free from the Fringe, continuing with items representing players' choices throughout the storyline. The room becomes a personal museum documenting the player's journey to become Sheogorath. Each artifact tells story, visual representation of trials overcome. Returning to the throne room after each quest shows progression physically manifesting in environment. This clever design makes the space feel earned and personal. Players inhabiting Sheogorath's throne literally surround themselves with trophies from challenges they conquered. It reinforces the transformation from adventurer to Daedric prince, the room reflecting new identity. The artifacts remain after completion, permanent record of how the player achieved apotheosis. The potion sickness animation bug. Early Oblivion versions contained a bug where drinking potions during combat caused NPCs to dramatically overreact, stumbling or falling as if grievously wounded by mere potion consumption. This unintentional comedy gold arose from animation state conflicts, the game trying to process healing potion use while maintaining combat animations. Players discovered enemies would interrupt attacks, falling over themselves when the player character drank potions mid-battle. This transformed potion use into offensive weapon through humiliation. Bethesda eventually patched it, but players missed the hilarious ragdoll physics triggered by simple healing. The bug demonstrated how complex systems interact unpredictably, creating emergent hilarity from animation priority conflicts. Many players consider this one of Oblivion's most entertaining bugs, elevating potion consumption to slapstick art form. The levitation spell's removal. Mike the Liar comments on levitation's absence from Oblivion, explaining that people found levitating too challenging and fell to their deaths. This directly addresses fans who missed Morrowind's levitation spells. The technical reason was Oblivion's city design. Separate cells from the overworld made levitation impossible without breaking game structure. Rather than ignore this, developers used Mike to explain in-universe reasoning. His commentary acknowledges both gameplay removal and lore justification simultaneously. The meta humor works because it's true. Levitation did cause deaths in Morrowind, when players miscalculated altitude or ran out of magic mid-flight. Mike transforms this mechanical limitation into plausible explanation, suggesting Cyrodiil banned levitation for public safety after too many accidents. This type of explanation helps bridge gaps between game limitations and world immersion. The Horse Armor DLC reference. Oblivion's infamous Horse Armor DLC became gaming's poster child for overpriced cosmetic content. While not Easter egg initially, it evolved into gaming history reference point. Bethesda's first attempt at DLC offered purely cosmetic horse armor for real money, creating backlash about microtransaction appropriateness. The community response was overwhelmingly negative, establishing early boundaries for acceptable DLC practices. Years later, Bethesda openly jokes about horse armor, acknowledging the mistake while demonstrating evolution in DLC strategy. The horse armor became meme representing gaming industry's worst monetization impulses. Players reference it when criticizing overpriced content, creating lasting legacy from what was meant to be simple cosmetic option. It influenced how the industry approached post-release content, serving as cautionary tale about respecting player investment. The Imperial City sewers. The opening tutorial takes place entirely in Imperial City sewers, creating claustrophobic introduction before revealing Cyrodiil's expansive beauty. This design choice builds anticipation. The exit from sewers into sunlight remains one of gaming's most memorable moments. The contrast between dark tunnels and vibrant open world creates powerful emotional impact. The sewers serve as mechanical tutorial and thematic rebirth, emerging from literal underground as new person. players begin as prisoner, escaping through sewers like metaphorical birth canal into new life. The sewers also contain secrets accessible only during opening or through returning later. The goblins and rats inhabiting these spaces establish early combat rhythms. Some players spend hours exploring sewer branches before exiting, discovering that even tutorial spaces contain hidden areas rewarding thorough exploration. The Emperor's voice. Patrick Stewart voices Emperor Uriel Septim VII in Oblivion's opening, lending gravitas to the Emperor's prophecies and doom. Stewart's distinctive voice immediately establishes this as important character worth paying attention to. His brief appearance creates powerful impression, establishing world stakes through performance quality. The Emperor's assassination drives the main plot, and Stewart's portrayal makes that loss feel significant. Casting such recognizable actor for a relatively small role demonstrates Bethesda's commitment to production value. Stewart's involvement elevated Oblivion's marketing appeal, his name recognition drawing attention from mainstream audiences. His prophetic warnings carry weight because his voice suggests authority and wisdom. The opening sequence works largely because Stewart sells the Emperor's foreknowledge and resignation to fate. Sean Bean's Martin Septim. Sean Bean voices Martin Septim, the illegitimate heir who becomes central to saving Cyrodiil. This casting is particularly amusing, given Bean's reputation for dying in almost everything he appears in. Martin's fate, transforming into an avatar of Akatosh and essentially dying to save the world, perfectly continues Bean's streak. The developers must have known what they were doing casting him. It became running joke in gaming communities that Sean Bean characters must die, and Martin delivering that expectation is almost comforting in its predictability. Despite the tragic ending, Bean's performance makes Martin sympathetic and believable as reluctant hero thrust into destiny. His voice acting grounds the fantastical main quest in emotional reality, making players care about this secretly royal priest discovering his heritage. The Thieves Guild plot. The Thieves Guild questline centers on exposing Mercer Frey's embezzlement and restoring Nocturnal's blessing. Wait, that's Skyrim. Oblivion's guild focuses on recovering the Grey Cowl of Nocturnal and understanding its curse. The Grey Fox, Guildmaster, wears a cursed mask, erasing his identity from memory and history. This creates a fascinating premise where the hero must break a Daedric curse while rebuilding the guild's reputation. The questline explores themes of identity and legend. What happens when you become completely forgotten? The curse means nobody remembers the Grey Fox's true identity. Not even he can remove the cowl without dying. This Faustian bargain creates tragedy beneath the roguish adventures. The reveal of the curse's true nature and breaking it provides satisfying conclusion while maintaining Thieves' Guild tradition of clever heists and social manipulation. The Mages Guild questline. The Mages Guild storyline involves uncovering necromancy's infiltration of the organization and defeating Mannimarco, the King of Worms. This ancient lich's machinations threaten the guild's existence. The questline forces players to travel across Cyrodiil's mage guild halls, each with unique problems reflecting that city's character. The recommendation quests before joining feel like genuine initiation tests, proving worthiness to each guild master. The Mages Guild politics, dealing with Travan's anti-necromancy stance, and ultimately confronting Mannimarco create narrative arc about institutional corruption and magical ethics. The reveal that Mannimarco has been manipulating events from Shadowzad's conspiracy element. His connection to Elder Scrolls lore as founder of necromancy gives the conflict historical weight. Defeating the King of Worms becomes milestone in Tamriel's magical history. The Fighters Guild Redemption. The Fighters Guild questline revolves around cleansing the organization of corruption caused by Blackwood Company, a rival group using heist sap to create berserker warriors. This creates moral complexity. The rival guild isn't purely evil, just ethically compromised. The heist sap subplot connects to Argonian lore, exploring how their sacred trees can be exploited. The questline examines what makes honorable warriors, contrasting Fighters Guild's codes with Blackwood Company's pragmatic brutality. Modrin Orin's personal vendetta against Blackwood Company drives much of the plot, showing how past grudges influence present conflicts. The Guild's redemption under new leadership represents Oblivion's theme of fallen institutions being reformed by heroic outsiders. The Fighters Guild becomes more than job board, developing character through questline that explores warrior ethics and organizational honor. The Dark Brotherhood's Black Sacrament. The Dark Brotherhood recruitment begins when players kill an innocent NPC, triggering Lucien Lechance's midnight visit. This creates perfect atmosphere, being approached by supernatural assassin for murder committed. The Black Sacrament ritual, performed with body parts and offerings, establishes the Brotherhood's otherworldly nature. Unlike other guilds joined through applications, the Dark Brotherhood chooses you. This reversal makes recruitment feel special and sinister. The questline explores assassin, culture, emphasizing ritual and tradition over simple murder. Each contract comes with specific requirements, from method of death to avoiding witnesses. This transforms assassination into art form, requiring planning and creativity. The final betrayal and Brotherhood's destruction adds tragic weight. The family-like atmosphere proven false when Astrid's paranoia destroys everything. The questline's dark humor and shocking moments make it memorable beyond mechanical assassination missions. The arena's gladiatorial combat. The arena questline offers straightforward progression through increasingly difficult opponents, culminating in championship bout with Grand Champion Agronak Gromalog, the Grey Prince. His tragic backstory, discovering his father was vampire, adds pathos to what could be simple combat tournament. When players reveal this truth, Agronak loses will to fight, forcing players to kill a broken man who no longer wants to live. This transforms gladiatorial spectacle into tragedy. The arena doesn't pretend to be more than it is, it's violence for entertainment and glory. But the Grey Prince's story adds moral complexity. Becoming Grand Champion brings fame, wealth, and the adoring fan. But it's built on Agronak's crushed spirit. The questline asks whether glory is worth destroying someone, and the adoring fan's constant praise afterward might feel hollow after the Grey Prince's death. The main quest's Oblivion Crisis. Mehrunes Dagon's invasion through Oblivion Gates creates apocalyptic atmosphere throughout Cyrodiil. These gates randomly appear, requiring players to close them by removing sigil stones from each realm's tower. The repetitive nature of gate closures became criticism, but thematically it reinforces the crisis's scale. Players become firefighter rushing between emergencies, barely maintaining control as new gates open. The main quest interweaves Martin Septim's growth, from priest to hero, with collecting artifacts needed for dragon-sized summoning. The climax, Martin transforming into Akatosh's avatar to banish Dagon, provides spectacular conclusion. His sacrifice saves Tamriel but ends the Septim dynasty, fundamentally changing the Empire. The main quest's stakes feel appropriately apocalyptic, balancing personal story about Martin with world-threatening invasion. The emotional payoff comes from watching Martin evolve while knowing his destiny requires ultimate sacrifice. The Anvil Recommendation Quest. To join the Mages Guild, players must complete recommendation quests at each guild hall. Anvil's task involves tracking down a rogue mage who's been causing problems, revealing guild politics and internal conflicts. Each recommendation quest is unique, showing different aspects of guild life across Cyrodiil. Anvil's quest emphasizes investigation and social manipulation over pure magical power. Players must question NPCs, follow clues, and ultimately expose the troublemaker. This establishes the Mages Guild as political organization, not just magic school. The recommendation requirements create immersion, proving worthiness to each local master before accessing guild services. These quests reward players who talk to NPCs and explore dialogue trees. They're not just fetch quests, but investigations into what it means to be a guild mage in each city's unique culture. The Skingrad Vampires. Skingrad's questline reveals Count Hassildor and his wife are both vampires, with Janus maintaining public duties while his wife remains in comatose state. This creates a tragic scenario where a vampire protects citizens from his own kind while searching desperately for cure. Hassildor cannot feed on his people, maintaining control through extraordinary willpower. His wife, unable to maintain similar control, remains trapped between life and death. Their relationship demonstrates vampire curse's true cost: eternal life that destroys everything worth living for. Hassildor's involvement in vampire cure quest becomes personally significant, though he cannot cure himself without abandoning his duties. The Count represents the tragedy of power without purpose, ruling city he cannot fully experience, protecting people he can never truly join. His story adds depth to vampirism beyond mechanical benefits and drawbacks. Cyrus the Redguard reference. Cloud Ruler Temple houses a Redguard blade named Cyrus. Interesting because Cyrus was the protagonist of Redguard, set centuries before Oblivion. They cannot be the same person, but the name choice is deliberate homage to that spin-off game. First mate Malvulis even sings about a hero named Cyrus, further acknowledging that protagonist's legendary status. This references one of Elder Scrolls' less played titles, ensuring Redguard isn't forgotten despite commercial underperformance. The pirate adventure game pioneered many mechanics later Elder Scrolls games adopted. By including references to Cyrus, developers honor that experimental title while maintaining it within franchise history. Barbas, Clavicus Vile's companion, mentions having been a Redguard, further referencing the game. These callbacks show Bethesda values its entire catalogue, not just mainstream successes. The Stros Mackay Observatory. Bothiel mentions an orrery in Stros Mackay, directly referencing the observatory from Redguard. This connects Oblivion's astronomy to previous games' locations, maintaining geographical continuity. The orreries mentioned suggest these magical astronomical instruments exist throughout Tamriel, not just in Imperial City. Stros Mackay's observatory being old implies centuries of astronomical study in that Hammerfell city. This type of reference enriches world building, suggesting Tamriel's provinces have scientific traditions extending beyond player observation. The fact that Botiel, a scholar, knows about distant observatories demonstrates intellectual networks connecting provinces. These mentions make Tamriel feel cohesive, where events and locations in one province relate to others through historical and cultural connections. The Helm of Orin Bearclaw. Completing the Fighters Guild rewards players with the Helm of Orin Bearclaw, referencing Arena. Orin Bearclaw was legendary fighter mentioned in the first Elder Scrolls game, and this helmet honors that legacy. The helm is more than mechanical reward. It's historical artifact connecting current events to franchise origins. Modrin Orin shares surname with this legendary fighter, suggesting family lineage. The helm's presentation acknowledges players' accomplishment while tying them to franchise history. These types of rewards make questline completion feel meaningful beyond experience points and gold. Players wear equipment with lore significance, becoming part of ongoing story that stretches across games and centuries. The helm represents how Bethesda rewards players who pay attention to lore, offering items with meaning beyond statistics. Umbacano the Collector. Umbacano appeared in Morrowind's Yasu Mine, alongside someone named Sorkalin. Both collectors of Ayleid antiquities, their Oblivion appearance continues this characterization. Umbacano sends players on dangerous quests to recover ancient artifacts, caring nothing for historical preservation, only possession. His obsession mirrors real collectors who value objects over knowledge. The questline explores ethics of archaeology versus grave robbing, as players delve into ruins seeking items for wealthy patron. Umbacano's true intentions, using artifacts for ritual purposes, reveal darker motivations behind collection. His character demonstrates how obsession corrupts, transforming legitimate scholarship into dangerous fanaticism. The fact that he appeared in Morrowind establishes him as long-term fixture in artifact collecting world, someone whose obsession spans years and provinces. The sweet roll running joke. The character creation questionnaire in jail includes a question about someone stealing your sweet roll, asking how you'd respond. This references a running joke dating back to Arena, appearing in multiple Elder Scrolls games. Sweet rolls became franchise's most referenced food item, elevated to cultural touchstone through repetition. Guards in various towns mention sweet rolls being stolen, perpetuating the joke across games. This dessert achieved meme status within Elder Scrolls community, representing developers' willingness to maintain continuity in absurd ways. The sweet roll question during character creation is perfect tone setter, establishing that while the world is serious, developers don't take themselves too seriously. It's the type of reference that long-time fans recognize immediately, while newcomers simply answer as personality test question. The Nerevarines' departure. Dunmer NPCs occasionally mention rumors that the Nerevarine left Morrowind on an expedition to Akavir and hasn't returned. This explains Morrowind's protagonist's absence from Oblivion's timeline while suggesting they're still alive and adventuring. Akavir, the mysterious eastern continent, represents Tamriel's great unknown, fitting destination for legendary heroes seeking new challenges. This type of reference respects players' previous game experiences, while acknowledging that heroes don't simply disappear. The Nerevarines' continued adventures somewhere off-screen maintains their legendary status. It also opens narrative possibilities for future games, should Bethesda choose to explore Akavir. These mentions keep Morrowind's story alive in Oblivion's present, suggesting that world events continue beyond player observation. Where spirits have lease. Players can purchase a supposedly haunted house in Anvil, discovering it genuinely is haunted. The quest Where Spirits Have Lease involves investigating and cleansing the property of vengeful ghosts before safely inhabiting it. The house offers prime real estate at discounted price due to supernatural problems. Perfect risk-reward scenario. Environmental clues reveal previous owners' dark activities and why spirits remain restless. Successfully completing the exorcism transforms liability into valuable asset. The quest demonstrates Oblivion's commitment to making property ownership interesting beyond mechanical benefits. Players don't just buy houses, they solve mysteries and battle supernatural threats to claim them. This creates memorable ownership experience where the house feels earned through adventure rather than simply purchased with gold. A Brush with Death. The Cheydinhal Quest. A Brush with Death involves rescuing an artist trapped inside his own painting. This fantastical premise allows players to enter a painted world, fighting painted trolls using turpentine as weapon. The surreal scenario perfectly captures Oblivion's willingness to embrace absurdity within its fantasy setting. Inside the painting, everything appears hand-drawn, creating a unique visual environment. The quest explores art's relationship with reality. What happens when creation traps creator? It's simultaneously rescue mission and commentary on artistic obsession. The wife's concern for her missing husband adds emotional stakes to otherwise bizarre situation. Completing the quest rewards players with unique experience and grateful NPC. This type of creative quest design shows Bethesda willing to experiment beyond standard fetch and kill missions. The Forlorn Watchman. The Forlorn Watchman. Quest involves laying to rest a ghostly sailor haunting Bournewatch Bay. Players must discover his story through environmental clues and dialogue with his spirit. The ghost cannot rest until his remains are properly buried, creating poignant tale about death and duty. The sailor died fulfilling his watch, remaining even in death to complete his assignment. His continued presence represents loyalty beyond life, dedication that transcends mortality. The quest rewards compassion over combat, players helping spirit find peace rather than destroying it. Environmental storytelling through found notes and ghosts' fragmented memories creates mystery players must solve. These atmospheric quests add variety to Oblivion's content, proving not every adventure requires violence. The Forlorn Watchman's story stays with players long after completion, a small tragedy amid Cyrodiil's larger conflicts. The Ghost Ship of Anvil. Varule asks players to recover her crystal ball from a haunted ship, creating spooky nautical adventure. The Ghost Ship contains spectral sailors and supernatural dangers, making recovery mission into ghost hunting expedition. The ship's haunted nature is well established through NPC dialogue and eerie atmosphere. Players exploring the vessel discover its tragic history through environmental storytelling. The crystal ball's location requires thorough investigation, rewarding players who search carefully. Completing the quest provides both mechanical rewards and satisfaction of helping desperate NPC recover prized possession. The Ghost Ship adds variety to Anvil's quests, making the port city feel appropriately mysterious and dangerous. These supernatural side quests enrich Oblivion's world, suggesting magic and spirits permeate Cyrodiil beyond main quest Daedric invasion. The Siren's Deception. This Bravil quest involves an all-female gang of thieves preying on married men in town. The Sirens use seduction and manipulation rather than violence, creating different type of criminal threat. Players must investigate their operation, discovering how they select targets and execute cons. The quest explores gender dynamics and crime, showing how criminals adapt methods to circumstances. The Sirens represent intelligent criminals using social engineering over brute force. Stopping them requires investigation and social manipulation, not just combat skills. The quest adds moral complexity. Are these women criminals or survivors using available tools? Bravil's poverty and corruption create environment where such schemes flourish. The Siren's Deception demonstrates how economic desperation drives crime. making villains more sympathetic than typical bandits. The Wayward Knight. Players must escort Farwill Indaris and his fellow knight through Oblivion Gate to retrieve Sigil Stone and close the gate. This creates escort mission combined with dungeon crawl through Daedric Realm. Farwill's overconfidence and his companion's loyalty create character dynamics during dangerous journey. The Knights of the Thorn represent well-intentioned but underprepared heroes, requiring player intervention to survive. Protecting them through hostile Oblivion Realm creates genuine tension. Their deaths would be players' failure. Successfully extracting them rewards players with gratitude and understanding of Oblivion Invasion's impact on common people. Knights of the Thorn aren't legendary heroes, but ordinary people trying to fight extraordinary threat. Their survival depends entirely on player competence, making escort mission feel meaningful rather than tedious. The Ring of Keys treasure hunt. Impale Pass. A frozen treasure hunt involves following clues through barrels containing notes and keys. Each key unlocks subsequent container, creating chain of discoveries leading to final reward. The Circlet of Omnipotence serves as ultimate prize, though its name oversells its actual power. This unmarked questline rewards exploration and puzzle solving over combat. The frozen environment creates atmospheric treasure hunt, ancient secrets preserved in ice. Players who miss this content lose out on unique discovery, making Pale Pass worth thorough exploration. The treasure hunt's non-verbal storytelling through item placement tells tale of a thief's attempt to hide valuables. Following their trail creates connection across time, understanding past events through present clues. These environmental puzzles make Cyrodiil feel rich, with undiscovered stories. The Fort Such defense. Before lighting dragonfires, players can detour to Fort Such, discovering Imperial guards battling Daedra from nearby Oblivion Gate. The guards request help closing the gate, creating optional heroic moment with no quest marker or reward beyond satisfaction. This unmarked content demonstrates how Oblivion Crisis affects common soldiers, not just main characters. The guards are losing, making player intervention critical to their survival. Successfully closing the gate saves these soldiers' lives, though the game never formally acknowledges this. It's pure environmental storytelling, players witnessing war's reality firsthand. The lack of formal quest makes the encounter feel organic, stumbling upon battle in progress rather than a signed mission. These moments make Cyrodiil feel alive beyond scripted events, suggesting countless similar struggles occur beyond player observation. The Lich of Lost Boy Cavern. At high levels, Lost Boy Cavern contains a powerful Lich, creating significant challenge for endgame characters. Books scattered throughout Cyrodiil reference this location and its dark history. The Lich represents exiled mage's ultimate fate, someone who pursued immortality through necromancy and achieved twisted version of eternal life. Fighting the Lich requires high-level player with strong equipment and preparation. The encounter lacks quest markers or formal introduction, existing purely for players who explore thoroughly. This type of optional content rewards curiosity and power gaming, providing endgame challenges for completionists. The Lich's existence suggests Cyrodiil contains hidden dangers beyond main quest threats, ancient evils predating current crisis. These unmarked encounters create sense of discovery, finding legendary monsters through exploration rather than questline assignment. The Udafricta and Dive Rock. Dive Rock contains journal describing Solstheim chieftains' hunt for the Udafricta matron, the horror of Dive Rock. This connects to Morrowind's Blood Moon expansion, while creating unique Oblivion encounter. The creature's reputation precedes discovery, building anticipation through environmental storytelling. Players finding Dive Rock must decide whether to fight this legendary beast, creating player-driven content through informed choice. The journal's tragic tone suggests the chieftain failed, his quest ending in death. Players potentially succeed where the legendary hunter failed, creating personal achievement narrative. The Udafricta matron represents imported threats from other provinces, suggesting Cyrodiil faces dangers beyond Daedric invasion. These cross-game references make Tamriel feel interconnected, where creatures and characters travel between provinces, creating continuity. The Derelict Mine Graveyard, northeast of Skingrad, near Derelict Mine, lies an unmarked graveyard with stone circle in its center. This mysterious location contains no associated quest, existing purely as atmospheric set piece. The graves suggest tragic history, but the game never explains who's buried here or why. The stone circle's purpose remains ambiguous, possibly religious or magical significance. Players who discover this location experience pure environmental storytelling, interpreting scenes through imagination rather than exposition. During Oblivion Crisis, an Oblivion Gate might appear here, partially destroying the graveyard and forcing coffins to surface. This creates disturbing imagery, suggesting even the dead aren't safe from Daedric invasion. The graveyard represents Oblivion's commitment to building world beyond quest content, creating locations that exist simply for atmosphere and discovery. The mysterious stairs, northwest of Cloud Ruler Temple. Mountain stairs lead to a summit with 2 lit braziers and a chest containing minor loot. No quest directs players here. The stairs exist purely for curious climbers. The braziers suggest someone maintains this remote location, but who and why? The chest's modest contents don't justify the climb's difficulty, making discovery the true reward. These stairs represent mysteries the game never explains, environmental storytelling that invites speculation rather than providing answers. The summit offers spectacular views of the Gerald Mountains, making the climb worthwhile beyond loot. Players who reach the top feel accomplished through navigation skill alone. These unmarked locations reward players who ignore quest markers, exploring Cyrodiil's geography through curiosity rather than assignment. The abandoned campsite near Frostcrag Spire, southeast of Knoll Mountain. An abandoned campsite offers impressive Gerald Mountain views. Empty campfire, scattered supplies, and no inhabitants suggest recent departure under unclear circumstances. If the Wizard's Tower DLC is installed, this site contains Frostcrag Spire's entrance key, transforming random campsite into significant discovery. The Frostcrag Spire memoirs mention the wizard camping here, inspired to build his tower while overlooking these mountains. The campsite becomes origin point for entire DLC location, where architectural vision was conceived. This type of environmental detail enriches DLC integration, making purchase content feel naturally embedded in base game. Players who discover the campsite without knowing its significance simply enjoy scenic location. Those aware of its importance experience narrative connection between natural inspiration and magical construction. The Falanu's ruined first shop, near Memorial Cave. Along the Red Ring Road, Falanu Hlalu's abandoned first alchemy shop contains numerous potions and ingredients. The ruins feature a well, resist fire potions, and unique trees found nowhere else in Cyrodiil. The shop's condition suggests sudden abandonment, valuable stock left behind during flight. What drove Falanu from successful business to Skingrad relocation? The game never explains, letting players imagine scenarios from personal tragedy to supernatural threat. The resist fire potion's prominence suggests fire-related incident, possibly connecting to nearby locations or events. The unique tree species add botanical mystery. Were they cultivated by Falanu or natural anomalies? These unmarked locations reward exploration with supplies and speculation, making Cyrodiil feel lived in beyond current moment. The nomadic Bralsa Andaren, a bedroll south of Kinnereth's Way Shrine near Fort Dirish, houses Bralsa Andaren, eccentric master destruction trainer. Finding her requires tracking down during specific destruction training quest. Her nomadic lifestyle, camping outdoors rather than residing in cities, reflects her eccentric personality. The bedroll is free to use, though Bralsa sleeps beside you, creating slightly awkward overnight arrangements. Her remote location makes training access difficult, requiring dedicated travel to middle of nowhere. This reflects how powerful trainers aren't always conveniently located in guild halls. The wilderness setting makes sense for destruction magic trainer, someone who prefers isolation when practicing dangerous spells. Her existence adds personality to training systems, transforming mechanical skill advancement into character encounter. The Bandit Outpost ruins, southwest of Roland Jensrik's cabin along the Blue Road. Partial stone walls mark a ruined bandit outpost. Within the walls, a stone floor hosts a tan cup and jug. The location's designation as bandit territory suggests criminal opportunism, claiming ruins as base. These environmental details create sense of Cyrodiil's layered history. Ancient structures repurposed by modern inhabitants. The bandits' modest possessions, simple cup and jug, humanize criminals often treated as generic enemies. The ruins' original purpose remains unknown, inviting speculation about Cyrodiil's past civilizations. These unmarked locations fill Cyrodiil with discovery opportunities, rewarding players who investigate every road and landmark. The bandit presence transforms historical site into contemporary danger, showing how the past remains relevant to present circumstances. The spectral mudcrab's origin theory. Some players theorize the spectral mudcrab in Paradise is actually the soul of Morrowind's famous mudcrab merchant. That unique creature could speak and sold items from its island home. Its death might have trapped its soul in Mehrunes Dagon's realm, explaining the ghost mudcrab's presence. This fan theory connects games through imaginative lore speculation, demonstrating how players build narratives from environmental clues. Whether developers intended this connection or simply placed a ghost mudcrab for surreal atmosphere, the community's interpretation enriches both games. The mudcrab merchant's fate remains unknown in official lore, allowing this theory to persist. These player-created connections demonstrate how passionate communities expand game worlds beyond developer intention. Collaborative storytelling between creators and audience. The Cursed Oblivion Gates. Oblivion Gates transform Cyrodiil's peaceful landscapes into hellscapes, their presence warping surrounding terrain. The gate's visual design, massive burning portals surrounded by corrupted earth, creates immediate atmospheric dread. Each gate's realm follows similar structure, but with variations, balancing familiarity with exploration. The gates serve as both narrative device and gameplay mechanic, explaining Daedric invasion while providing repeatable dungeon content. Their random appearance creates unpredictability, players never knowing when peaceful travel will become combat situation. The gate's closure being temporary achievable only through retrieving sigil stones, creates clear objectives within confusing Daedric realms. Environmental hazards like lava and twisted architecture make these spaces feel truly alien. The gates represent game design challenge of creating repeatable content that maintains tension across multiple encounters. The sigil stone rewards. Sigil stones retrieved from Oblivion gates provide powerful enchantments based on player level when obtained. This creates strategic consideration. Should players delay gate closures to obtain better stones? The stone's level scaling means early game closures yield weaker rewards, encouraging some players to ignore Crisis until higher levels. This creates interesting tension between narrative urgency and mechanical optimization. The stones can enchant equipment with significant bonuses, making them valuable beyond gate-closing objectives. Collecting various sigil stones allows players to customize equipment extensively, rewarding those who close numerous gates. The system transforms potentially tedious gate closing into worthwhile activity through tangible rewards. Players who optimize sigil stone collection develop strategies for maximizing enchantment, quality, turning crisis management into power gaming opportunity. The Mythic Dawn cultists. Mythic Dawn cultists occasionally attack players in cities and roads, identifying themselves as Mankar Cameron's followers. These surprise ambushes create paranoia, suggesting the cult infiltrates everywhere. The cultists' fanaticism, willingly dying for Cameron's vision, demonstrates effective indoctrination. Their attacks aren't random banditry, but theological warfare, true believers fighting for apocalyptic goals. Finding Mythic Dawn agents hidden throughout society creates conspiracy atmosphere, suggesting trust is impossible. The cult's widespread presence explains how Oblivion Crisis succeeded despite Imperial strength. These sleeper agents waited for Cameron's signal, simultaneously striking across Cyrodiil. Players eliminating cultists protect society from internal threats, matching external Daedric invasion. The cult represents how ideology can be as dangerous as physical force, minds corrupted more thoroughly than bodies. The Black Horse Courier. The Black Horse Courier provides in-game newspaper, reporting events, and updating as questlines progress. Articles describe player achievements, closed gates, and completed quests. This creates immersive sense of living world that reacts to player actions. The Courier's evolution throughout the game demonstrates journalism's role in society, spreading news about crisis and heroism. Special editions like Reign of Burning Dogs. After Sheogorath's Border Watch prank show, the publication responds to supernatural events. The newspaper adds a meta-gaming fun, seeing how the game world interprets player actions. These articles often exaggerate or misunderstand events, creating comedy through misrepresentation. The Courier transforms player character from anonymous adventurer into recognized figure, their deeds becoming public record worthy of reporting. The Border Watch prank. Sheogorath's Daedric quest involves convincing Border Watch villagers that their prophecy is fulfilled through elaborate pranks. Players must stage supernatural events, dropping burning dog corpses from the sky and other absurdities. This ridiculous questline demonstrates Sheogorath's nature. Chaos for chaos's sake. The villagers' gullibility, accepting these obvious pranks as divine signs, creates dark comedy. Players become instruments of Daedric mischief, proving mortals are easily manipulated. The quest's aftermath, villagers abandoning their homes in terror, shows consequences of religious manipulation. Sheogorath finds their suffering hilarious, representing his alien morality. The prank's success relies on exploiting believers' faith, making it critique of blind devotion. Players who complete this quest become complicit in destroying community through manufactured apocalypse, all for Daedric Prince's amusement. The mundane ring reward. Sheogorath's quest reward is hilariously anticlimactic. The mundane ring provides no enchantments or benefits despite elaborate quest completion. This perfectly captures Sheogorath's nature, promising great reward, then delivering worthless trinket. Players expecting powerful Daedric artifact receive literal mundane ring, the ultimate joke. Some players initially think they received bugged item, checking repeatedly to verify the ring genuinely does nothing. This is intentional. Sheogorath's reward is the experience, not useful equipment. The ring serves as a reminder that Daedric princes don't think like mortals, their rewards reflecting their nature. Sheogorath values chaos and humor over mortal concerns like combat effectiveness. The mundane ring becomes trophy representing interaction with madness incarnate. Proof players survived Sheogorath's attention with sanity somewhat intact. The Blade of Woe. The Dark Brotherhood provides Blade of Woe during questline, a unique dagger with absorption enchantments. This weapon becomes iconic Brotherhood tool, efficient and deadly. Its appearance, dark blade with sinister aesthetics, perfectly represents assassin organization. The weapon's enchantment drains health while dealing damage, making it effective even at higher levels. Players who complete Dark Brotherhood often continue using this dagger throughout game, despite finding statistically superior weapons. The blade represents membership in exclusive organization, status symbol among assassins. Its unique appearance makes it instantly recognizable, players displaying it proudly as sign of Brotherhood completion. The weapon's lore significance transforms it from simple equipment into narrative artifact, proof of players' dark deeds and covenant with Night Mother. The Rosethorn Cache. This quest involves finding hidden treasure of a thief who died 200 years ago, following cryptic clues across Cyrodiil. The treasure hunt rewards careful attention to environmental clues and historical research. Players must interpret old notes, understand geographical references from 2 centuries prior, and deduce hiding spots despite landscape changes. This creates genuine puzzle solving separate from combat or dialogue challenges. The cache's age means few living people remember its existence, making discovery feel like genuine archaeological achievement. The reward justifies the effort, providing valuable items hidden since before current political conflicts. The quest demonstrates how Oblivion rewards patient players willing to engage with lore and geography beyond quest markers. These historical treasure hunts connect present gameplay to past events, making Cyrodiil feel like a place with deep history extending beyond observable time frame. The Collector's 10 Ancestors. Umbacano hires players to recover the 10 Ancestors, ancient Ayleid statues scattered across Cyrodiil. This extended quest line involves dungeon crawling through multiple ruins, collecting artifacts for obsessed patron. The statues represent Ayleid civilization's lost glory, fragments of culture that dominated Cyrodiil before human rebellion. Umbacano's true motivations, revealed through questline, show how historical artifacts can be weaponized by those obsessed with past power. The Collector represents dangerous nostalgia, someone who believes reconstructing past will restore its power. Players become unwitting accomplices to ritual designed to access ancient magic. The questline questions ethics of archaeology. Are players preserving history or enabling its exploitation? The 10 ancestors transform from simple collectibles into keys for dangerous ritual, demonstrating how innocent-seeming quests hide darker purposes. The Soulcairn connection. Players familiar with later Elder Scrolls games sometimes draw connections between Oblivion's soul gem mechanics and Skyrim's Soulcairn, a realm where trapped souls eventually end up. While Oblivion itself doesn't address where trapped souls go, the soul trap mechanics naturally raise questions about their fate. Are they conscious inside gems? What happens when gems are used for enchanting? These ethical questions would only become explicitly explored in later games. The Soulcairn's appearance in Skyrim's Dawnguard expansion retroactively suggests that souls trapped in Oblivion may have ended up there, though this is interpretive rather than stated. This demonstrates how the franchise evolved to add moral complexity to gameplay mechanics that were initially treated as purely mechanical systems. Whether the developers had this fate in mind during Oblivion's creation remains unclear, but the connection enriches both games' lore in retrospect. The Grey Cowl's Curse. The Grey Cowl of Nocturnal erases its wearer from history and memory, making them the Grey Fox regardless of identity. This Daedric curse punishes the first Grey Fox for betraying Nocturnal. Everyone who dons the cowl becomes the Grey Fox, inheriting infamy and anonymity simultaneously. The curse means nobody remembers the Grey Fox's true identity, including the wearer. Removing the cowl risks identity dissolution. The wearer might literally cease to exist without the curse binding them. The quest line involves breaking this curse, restoring wearer's ability to remove cowl safely. This explores fascinating identity questions. What remains of a person whose entire life is forgotten? The Grey Fox exists only while wearing the cowl, the person beneath effectively dead to world. Breaking the curse allows wearer to reclaim identity, but it also ends the Grey Fox's legend. The questline asks whether legendary anonymity or personal recognition matters more. The Boots of Springheel Jack. During Thieves' Guild questline, players temporarily acquire Boots of Springheel Jack, providing ridiculous jumping height. These boots reference Springheel Jack, Victorian-era English folklore figure known for incredible leaps. The boots transform navigation dramatically, allowing players to reach normally inaccessible locations. However, they must be returned for quest progression, creating brief window for exploration abuse. Players who experiment with these boots discover Cyrodiil's vertical spaces, finding rooftops and mountain peaks unreachable otherwise. The boots represent pure fun, game-breaking equipment that exists briefly before removal. Many players attempt keeping the boots through exploits, unwilling to surrender such entertaining items. The boot's folklore origin shows how real-world myths influence fantasy games, Victorian legend becoming magical artifact in Elder Scrolls universe. The Bitter Cup. Perite's Daedric quest reward is the Bitter Cup, which damages health but cures all diseases. This reflects Perite's nature as Prince of Pestilence and Natural Order. The cup represents homeopathic principle, poison curing poison. Its mechanical implementation, damaging while healing disease, creates interesting risk-reward calculation. Players using the cup accept temporary harm for permanent disease removal. The bitter name suggests unpleasant medicine, acknowledging that cures aren't always pleasant. Perite's association with natural order explains this reward. Disease is natural. Fighting it requires sacrifice. The cup becomes invaluable for vampire or disease-afflicted characters, providing cure without lengthy quest requirements. Its existence demonstrates how even dangerous Daedric princes provide useful tools, though always with costs attached. The Skull of Corruption. Vermina's reward is the Skull of Corruption, a staff that clones enemies as hostile duplicates fighting for the player. This nightmarish weapon reflects Vermina's domain over dreams and nightmares. Watching enemies fight their own duplicates creates surreal combat situations. The staff's charges replenish through witnessing dreams, requiring players to watch sleeping NPCs. This bizarre recharge requirement emphasizes Vermina's voyeuristic nature, demanding players invade others' privacy to power the staff. The cloned enemies retain Original's abilities, making the staff incredibly powerful against tough opponents. However, the clones can also turn on player if control breaks. This uncertainty reflects nightmare logic, where helpful elements become threatening unpredictably. The Skull of Corruption is simultaneously powerful tool and liability, perfect representation of Nightmare's dual nature. The Azura's Star. Azura rewards players with reusable soul gem, Azura's Star, which never breaks despite repeated use. This makes it perhaps the most mechanically valuable Daedric artifact, providing infinite enchanting fuel. The star's pristine appearance reflects Azura's vanity and appreciation for beauty. Its perpetual functionality demonstrates Azura's reliability compared to more capricious princes. Players who obtain Azura's Star gain massive economic advantage, eliminating soul gem costs for enchanting. This transforms enchanting from resource management challenge into unlimited creative tool. The star's existence suggests Daedric artifacts aren't just powerful, but fundamentally different from mortal creations, operating on different physical principles. Azura's gift demonstrates her favoritism toward mortals who serve her well, providing genuinely useful reward, unlike some princes' cruel or useless gifts. The Ebony Blade. Mephala reward is the Ebony Blade, which absorbs health and silences targets. This elegant weapon reflects Mephala's association with murder and secrets. The blade encourages stealth. Silencing victims prevents them from calling for help. Its health absorption makes extended combat viable, healing the wielder through violence. The ebony construction makes it visually striking, jet black blade that whispers death. Mephala's quest involves investigating mysterious deaths and uncovering hidden family betrayals, thematically appropriate for Spider Prince who spins webs of lies. The blade becomes tool for similar betrayals, enabling player to commit murders that go undetected. Mephala's philosophy that violence and deception are natural is embodied in this weapon, which makes killing easier while concealing the act. Players who embrace the blade embrace Mephala's worldview that trust should be betrayed and loyalty is weakness. The Gold Brand. Boethiah's reward can be Gold Brand, a legendary katana with fire damage. This exotic weapon references Morrowind, where it was extremely rare drop. In Oblivion, it becomes questline reward, making it more accessible. The katana's distinctive curved blade stands out among Cyrodiil's typically European weaponry. Its fire enchantment makes it effective against most enemies. Goldbrand's name suggests value beyond mechanical benefits. Gold-colored legendary blade marking wielder as champion. Boethiah's trial requires proving combat superiority, appropriate for martial prince. The blade's history across games makes it meaningful beyond statistics. Players recognize it from previous adventures. Obtaining Goldbrand feels like reclaiming legendary weapon from another life. The katana represents how Eastern influences permeate Elder Scrolls, despite Western European aesthetic dominance, creating diverse weapon traditions. The Wabberjack. Sheogorath's alternative reward is the Wabberjack, a staff producing completely random effects from healing enemies to transforming them into creatures. This embodies Sheogorath's madness, creating weapon where outcomes are unpredictable. Players using the Wabbajack never know whether it will help or hinder. Sometimes it turns powerful enemies into harmless sheep. Sometimes it heals them to full health. This randomness makes the staff simultaneously hilarious and frustrating. The name Wabbajack itself is nonsense, representing Sheogorath's rejection of conventional naming. Using the staff is gambling, risking disaster for potential triumph. This perfectly captures engaging with Daedric Prince of Madness. You never know what you'll get. The staff became so iconic, it returned in Skyrim as major quest item. Players who use Wabbajack embrace chaos, accepting that combat becomes comedy roulette rather than controlled encounter. The Sanguine Rose. Sanguine rewards players with the Sanguine Rose, a staff that summons Daedra to fight for the player. This represents Sanguine's jovial cruelty, providing powerful allies while making combat into drunken party. The summoned Daedra are strong enough to handle most threats independently. The staff's convenience makes questing easier, providing disposable minions for difficult encounters. Sanguine's quest involves drunken adventures and pranks, reflecting his domain over debauchery and indulgence. The reward continues this theme, making adventuring feel less lonely. The staff's multiple charges allow sustained summoning during extended combat. Players who rely on Sanguine Rose transform Solitary Adventurer into someone with perpetual backup. This changes gameplay rhythm significantly, encouraging riskier tactics, knowing Daedric allies provide support. The Rose name contrasts with violent summoning, typical Sanguine humor, making destruction sound pleasant. The Mace of Molag Bal. Molag Bal rewards players with his mace after quest, involving corrupting virtuous individual. The mace drains strength and magicka while soul-trapping victims. Perfect weapon for Daedric Prince of Domination and Enslavement. The quest requires player to turn good person evil, demonstrating Molag Bal's power over mortal will. Successfully corrupting the priest proves even virtue can be twisted with sufficient pressure. The mace represents this corruption, transforming victims into commodities through soul trap. Using the mace means continuing Molag Bal's work, enslaving souls for personal power. The weapon's brutal appearance matches its function, heavy mace built for crushing resistance. Players who wield this mace embrace domination philosophy, using victims as resources. The mace became notorious in Elder Scrolls lore for its corrupting influence, suggesting extended use might corrupt wielder similar to the Ring of Power. The voice acting variety. Oblivion features limited voice actors voicing numerous characters, creating the amusing situation where drastically different NPCs share identical voices. Guards across Cyrodiil sound identical despite representing different cities and backgrounds. This limitation became meme-worthy, players recognizing the same few voices across hundreds of characters. The repetition creates unintentional comedy when noble and beggar share exact speech patterns. However, the voice actor's skill makes distinct personalities emerge despite vocal similarity. Patrick Stewart, Sean Bean, and other celebrity voices contrast sharply with the rotating cast of standard NPCs. This limitation influenced how players experience immersion, sometimes breaking it through recognition, other times fading into background as brains filter. Repetition. The voice acting became such a defining characteristic that later games expanded voice cast significantly to avoid similar repetition issues. The level scaling controversy. Oblivion's aggressive level scaling means enemies and loot scale with player level, ensuring challenges remain consistent throughout progression. This controversial system prevents players from out-leveling content, but can make progression feel meaningless. Early game players wielding iron swords face bandits in iron armor. Late game players wielding Daedric weapons face bandits in Daedric armor. This creates absurd situations where common bandits possess legendary equipment. The scaling intends to maintain challenge, but many players felt it cheapened advancement. Why level up if enemies grow proportionally? The system also affects loot, making some unique items less special when random bandits carry equivalent gear. This design decision sparked significant community debate about RPG progression systems. Despite criticism, the scaling allows players to explore anywhere immediately, supporting Oblivion's open-world philosophy. Later games modified this system, learning from community feedback about balance between accessibility and meaningful progression. The Radiant AI quirks. Oblivion's Radiant AI system allows NPCs to make independent decisions based on needs and schedules. This creates emergent behavior where NPCs might steal, murder, or engage in activities beyond scripted events. The system produces hilarious and disturbing results. Shopkeepers sometimes killing each other over stolen goods. Guards arresting themselves after accidental friendly fire. NPCs follow daily schedules, traveling to work, eating meals and sleeping, making cities feel alive. However, the AI's complexity sometimes creates bizarre situations. NPCs might break into homes searching for food if they're hungry enough. Guards might attack players for crimes they didn't commit due to AI misattribution. These quirks became beloved parts of Oblivion's charm. Players sharing stories about bizarre AI-driven moments. The Radiant AI represented ambitious attempt at simulating realistic NPC behavior, even if results were occasionally unpredictable. These emergent stories make each playthrough unique. AI creating moments developers never explicitly programmed, but system logic enabled.